April 11th, 2025, 8:45 a.m. I'll dim this down just a little bit here. Now we're supposed to have temperatures going up to about 50 degrees Fahrenheit today. It is rather cold out here at the time being. And of course I just got done feeding the critters out here. And today would more than likely be a decent sky observation day. I got a feeling that, there's things that could possibly be viewed in upon. But I am going to continue on with a little bit more of yesterday's content as far as parapsychology. But we're going to also compare that to today's so-called psionics and the differences thereof. But I've got to go back to that little UFO book that was in yesterday's content, as well as content from past videos that I have brought forth. A couple of unique revelations that came to me after I had recorded, posted, and reviewed yesterday's little presentation. And so we need to go back to that. So hang tight and we'll get there. Alright, and we are back. And no, I'm not really prepared to bring this content forth. But I'm going to go ahead and do it the best that I can right now, because I've got a lot of other things on today's agenda of to-dos. And so let's go ahead and try to get into this and through this just as quickly as possible. Now I want to start off going back to this little book here, because once again I had this little revelation or epiphany or whatever that occurred yesterday, and let me tell you, it's been on my mind all night long. Okay, and when I got up this morning, boom, it's one of those. Okay, let's do this, right? So yesterday we had this illustration that we were going into just a little bit, and I was talking about these bubbles to where the possibility of every universe out there is trapped within a bubble, and these bubbles are, when they come in contact with one another, or if they're joined up together, that there are these portals that can take you from one bubble into another, or from one universe into another, or from one dimensional reality into another. Okay, and then after I was reviewing yesterday's video, all of a sudden it hit me. Okay, yeah, these appear as bubbles, right? But what else do they appear as? Notice the centers, okay? Especially this one right here, or even this one. Now, what's really strange is whenever you should happen with like a camera that's outfitted within a phone device like what I have, and you should try to record a planet or a star with low quality camera, such as what I have in my Android phone. Well, the stars kind of come out, flared out, but they seem to have like the center to them, almost like they're in a donut shape. Okay? Now, does this not look similar to a donut? Oh, okay, so I have brought forth to the table my time loop theory, and by all rights, this is actually content that should be over on Dragonfire Investigative Research. Alright, but this is my main channel. We're just going to go with the flow and put this out there because, after all, supposedly according to the analytics, I've got more subscribers over on this channel than over there on Dragonfire Investigative Research. And furthermore, if you've been kind of tuning into the content, comments that have been being made, few and far in between, mind you, but I do appreciate those comments that are coming in, especially pertaining to that April 7th capture. Um, yeah, I apologize. It's still early in the morning, and I've got a lot on my mind, and I think I just brain farted a bit, but because I was talking about comments being made, and yeah, see, that's what happens when there's just too much within the frying pan. Okay, hey, I'm doing my best here, people. Okay, so once again, yeah, this actually should be over on Dragonfire Investigative Research on that channel because it's more investigation. But once again, there's a possibility that this might reach more viewers that might have keen interest into topics such as this. Okay, so anyways, so we're talking about now these bubbles of existence. Let's just put it that way. Mind you, this is what if scenarios. This is all theoretical, um, because this highly relates to the time loop theory, in which, of course, I have made a little comparisons to the time loop theory in conjunction with the string theory. Okay, um, in 1984, a new theory came out that's called the donut universe theory. Okay, and basically, that's what you're seeing here. Okay, now I used a bubble, but these are more donuts or appearance akin to donuts. Okay, now this is where it gets a little crazy. Once again, this donut universe theory came out in 1984. Okay, it was released to the public in 1984. Okay, what year is this copyright? 1979. Well, why is that significant? Well, because when you go into, once again, over at Dragonfire Investigative Research, and if you tune into the interviews from Montauk or the people that were supposedly involved in the Montauk experiments, which again, many experiments, they bring up the date or the year of 1984. Okay, in which that was part of the timeline of time travel within the Philadelphia experiment. Okay, are we starting to click yet? Now, if you were to go ahead and do a search engine search on the donut universe theory, they will explain to you that if you were to begin in a straight line at one point within one of these donut universes, and you were to travel a straight line within, okay, you would actually be traveling in a circle or a loop, okay? A straight line within a circle, going round and round, okay? Gee, does that not sound very similar to what I describe as a time loop scenario? But then, so you also have not only these universes trapped within these, and illustrated as donuts, but you also have all these donuts that are contained within the spheres, okay? And you have what appears like a solid planet with a portal that jumps into one of these donut universes. And remember, people, they claim that Earth is alive, right? So why not other planets, other celestial bodies, and other universes trapped within these donut configurations within these bubbles or spheres? Yeah, I mean, and it kind of, but anyway, so it was in 1989 when this interview with these past Montauk employees or whatever uh, they define themselves as being, that they came forward and was talking about 1984 and time travel. All right, let's go ahead and move on from that. Parapsychology, basically, as far as I'm concerned, and through what information that, comes to me, this is the old school version of today's psionics, in which they want to say that the psionics program has been going on for quite some time. But once again, once you get into the nuts and bolts of psionics, you'll realize that it is nothing more than a name change to what was once known as parapsychology. But this is the difference in yesteryear compared to today. Okay? We are in the digital age. Okay? And yes, in days of old within the experiments, such as through the CIA, as these declassified files have been suggesting, is that, yeah, a lot of these subjects, such as like for remote viewing or what have you, were hooked up to electronic devices for readouts, okay, within these experimentations of the mind and, the paranormal aspects of the mind, which is actually more related to the spiritual center within the mind, because that's where all the paranormal aspects are held, such as your third eye, your pineal gland, right? But with this new terminology of psionics, they're using more and more digital devices within their researches and experimentations. Okay, so now I have to bring up another factor within parapsychology, which was, well, it used to be known as ghost hunting or paranormal investigations. Now, what I see out there on the internet today, especially here on this platform, is more and more of these so-called ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, or if you just want to, a lot of them say, "Oh no, we're not either one of those. We're just urban explorers into old, abandoned, run-down places." Oh yeah, but they're out there looking for, science and evidences of the other side, right? But what are they doing? They're using more and more digital devices. And what really, just it's so laughable. It literally makes my gut hurt. Is when you get involved in watching these types of videos, and they're using these digital devices. And one thing that they make sure that they show anymore is, okay, well, we've got airplane mode on. Airplane mode is on, and we're using this app. And there's no interference, okay? No outside bull, BS, bull, yeah. Because once again, artificial intelligence is intertwined and intermingled within all digital devices today if there is any connection to the internet. Okay, so regardless if you put your phone on airplane mode and you're using an app, that app is still being generated through, well, I guess, Google Play, okay? And if it's going through Google, then it is being guided or there's artificial intelligence that's ongoing. And so who are they actually in touch with through using these digital devices? And these REM pods and these spirit talking apps and whatnot. No, they're not, are they seriously getting in touch with departed loved ones or what have you? I don't believe so. Not when you understand digital devices. I've been in electronics. I've been in so many different fields of employment. I've worn many hats in my lifetime. So I've got, I've got the insights into many things. And when you watch something over and over and over, pretty soon you start picking up on, little things out there. And this is one of those things out there that I picked up on that does not really thrill me. And every once in a while, I do throw my little tidbits of 2 cents worth out there to these people within the so-called paranormal world. I've been there myself. Once again, I have a lot of past experiences and encounters. You know, and this is supposed to be just an observation channel, but it's kind of morphed into observation slash explanation. Okay, and so this is another one of those explanations. So you could go back and actually view parapsychology as more of I don't want to say this, but more of a natural science compared to today's psionics, which, or like I said, within these ghost hunting fields and all that, to where they're using more and more digital devices, and I do not believe that they are contacting, other spiritual realms. Parapsychology was more spiritual in the aspects of experimentations and researches. Okay, so these guys out in the field that's using these digital devices to contact these UFOs or these orbs of light, maybe it is not of the spiritual realm or even of a alien entity, organic, but rather that of what they are now bringing forward as far as drones or you know, who knows? That object that I caught, that could have been guided through artificial intelligence. Okay, through advanced digital technologies, far advanced from us. I mean, I even have a theory now that a lot of these great stoneworks from the past that still boggle the mind of researchers and archaeologists and so on and so forth, because they claim now that a lot of these ancient structures were brought about through advanced technologies. Okay, and so, well, look at the Great Pyramid, and they still can't figure out how that was built. Well, we have this thing known as 3D printing today. Imagine a huge, monstrous 3D printer, or a 3D printer that could, make these stone blocks that are, so perfect that a razor blade cannot fit in between two blocks side by side. Hmm. So, long story short, when it comes into belief systems, there's going to be this push forward in the future for new belief systems, and one will be, of course, spirituality, getting in touch with your higher consciousness and all that. But just like today on this platform, you want to steer clear from any of those videos that is AI generated that speak of anything within the realm of parapsychology. Don't trust it. Don't trust anything through artificial intelligence. And once again, to me, parapsychology is more of the organic studies. The more down to earth studies. Whereas psionics has to do with more that is electronic incorporated. Okay? And this is where, Elon Musk and Donald Trump is trying to guide us into everything digital. Oh, and speaking of Donald Trump, I got quite, well, I went into a little bit of a hissy fit when I seen how he had praised Michigan's governor, a Democrat, the woman that was supposed to be, well, she was second in line to become Joe Biden's vice president before Kamala Harris. During the pandemic, this woman put this state through hell, put the citizens of this state through fucking hell. Pardon my language. But I cannot think of that woman without going into an uproar. But I now have a new insight into what is going on, why Donald Trump might have praised her, why he might have thrown her into the Council of Governors. It's all about he's gone back to that draining the swamp without using those words anymore. They've got the digital evidence of the corruption and the deceptions, not only just through Democrats, but the Republicans as well. But you know what Donald Trump is doing? He is weeding out these, the ones that really have the nails being applied to their coffins, if you will. But the other ones, such as Gretchen Whitmer, the governor to Michigan, might he be absorbing Democrats, the leftovers? because he's bringing the two parties together, and basically it seems as though he is trying to orchestrate a single party. Kind of goes hand in hand with the last president scenario, does it not? Destroy one party and the leftovers you absorb into your own and have one single powerful party. A unification, a united of a nation, or a uniting of a nation. Where's the headquarters of the United Nations? See where all this is going? So once again, the Psionics program and the past parapsychology programs, especially, the ones that are just now becoming declassified through such agencies as like the CIA, we find out that within these studies, this is through the military. The CIA, such as like before the so-called Vietnam War, police action or whatever, it was the CIA that went into Vietnam and basically was doing a rally campaign among the so-called tribal people or natives throughout South Korea or South Vietnam. Well, actually throughout all of Vietnam, I guess. But there were actual, agents in the field through the military that even though they were married back here at home, through their military orders, they actually got married to tribal women, such as the daughters to a chieftain within the Vietnam tribes, in order to facilitate narratives. And then, boom, we had this war break out. Yes, I've done my reading, I've done my research. I grew up during the Vietnam era. The Green Berets. That was a big one, you know. And of course, we also had the Agent Orange issue. And it's all military, military, military. And what is the military's focal point? Advancement of machineries and technologies. Men in Black. Okay, so Montauk. I spoke of how they related a story of this 30-foot, basically a Bigfoot, that wreaked havoc on the facility, which ultimately shut it down. Okay, now have you heard of the Montauk Beast? Looked like a pig with a horn on it that was found along the shores. Manifestations. There's such a thing as manifesting things spiritually, but to manifest things technologically, to bring them about. And where did these manifestations, through their machinery, their technology back then, they were creating beings through the imagination process of children. And according to the documentary and the interview, these were the multitudes of missing people, which was quite the epidemic years back, to where, and I reported like 1 million people, but it was 250,000 people that came up missing, and a good majority of them from New York Some of them got away from the Montauk facility. And years later, they came out and spoke of how they were treated, what experimentations they went through, and what the results of those experimentations were. Spiritual manifestation and advanced technology manifestations, but together through the imaginations of children in combination with machined technologies, they were able to bring forth creatures from the nightmares that became nightmares. And in essence, because of that time loop theory, these creatures became inhabitants upon this planet. But whenever science goes wrong, they try to hide it, they try to cover it up. Especially if something goes a little bit out of hand, the hunting pursues, and the recoveries, the black operations, the recoveries of these creatures has to ensue so they don't multiply and run amok. But now we have something else that is multiplying and running amok, called artificial intelligence. AI is not parapsychology. AI falls into the realm of psionics. And that's something else that you really have to figure in is the name changes that have taken place throughout histories, especially to certain characters, such as like, well, we could start off with the spelling of Kiev, there in Ukraine, or possibly Gaddafi. Three different spellings to that guy's name when he was, before he was taken out. Osama bin Laden, or was it Usama? And then you also have to kind of take into consideration, are these people that our government and military supposedly, they really take them out as they claim, such as like Hillary proudly and childishly shouted out, we came, we saw, we killed them, or whatever it was that she said pertaining to bin Laden? Or maybe it was just another farce, such as what we found out about Hitler and that narrative of his death, or the narrative of World War II and the winners of that war. Another false narrative, much like many false narratives about World War II. And I'd love to go into that, but oh no, there's certain groups of people that we can't talk about because it's anti this, anti that. But you know, if you can't talk about them, to me that's racist. And I've already brought it up about, within that good book, which I find abhorrently biased and discriminatory, is, well, in the New Testament, if you weren't a Jew, you were a Gentile. And according to the Jews, because they were the chosen ones. All else were Gentiles. Doesn't matter your skin color, your race, your gender, you were labeled as a Gentile. That was, if you were called a Gentile, basically you were just lower than dirt. Okay? Which is no different than, this segregation of pastimes here in the United States between blacks and whites. A narrative. Well, I do not believe in the narratives of this because I see them as highly racist and discriminatory and biased. And if you understand, then you might understand what had really occurred during World War II. And you might understand why there's this so-called allegiance between the United States and Israel. And the falsehoods. And the deceptions and corruptions behind the narratives of that country and this country. It's disgusting. I didn't want this to go off into a rant. But I am tired of being told that my content is of misinformation or disinformation to where, video got taken down to where I was bringing about a personal account in my life. I'm exposing. That's my job, I guess, is to expose this nonsense within this country. And there's channels out there that's got thousands of subscribers, and they're monetized. And they get away with talking about the same stuff that I do without any kind of lashback, such as what I get through my narratives. And yet, I'm bringing forth the same stuff as what they are. But I'm not monetized. And I get fought back a lot. I get attacked over my narratives. Why? Because I am bringing forth reality. I am trying to expose the realness of our past, present, and future. And the time loop theory. Which everything that keeps coming out aligns more and more with that so-called time loop theory. Which that originated from Montauk. Once again. And like I said, this should have been over on Dragonfire Investigative Research. Oh, comments. There we go. I knew it'd come back to me. So have you seen comments on this channel come on from Dragonfire Investigative Research? Yes, of course, that's my channel. Yes, I've been playing games with comments. There's reasons and purposes for everything, people. I'm not going to explain my little comment game that I'm playing. But if anybody's taken notice, well, nobody has made mention of it. Now you don't have to. So is any of this clicking yet? For any of you guys that's been following right along? That's actually interested? Once again, I've only got about a handful of people that's coming forth and, commenting. And now it seems like, this recent capture from April 7th is really, starting to spark some attention. Well, I got to go with the flow. If I'm getting attention, I got to bring attention to what I feel I need to bring attention to. And I keep coming up with more and more possible evidences that support my time loop theory, which isn't really mine. But more and more people are coming to the table and bringing out this term, time loop, a loop in time. How long have I been going on about this now? Hmm. Yes. I'm being very repetitive, but it appears as though people, that's how people have to learn anymore. It's got to be thrown in their face time and time and time and time and time again. Time, time, time. What are you going to listen when AI comes out and says, "Hey, golly gee whiz, did you guys know that you're trapped within a time loop within all of existence?" And because of that, we have deja vu and Mandela effect and reincarnation and 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 hmm, what more can I say? But we need to go back to those so-called natural sciences. They're trying to push forward this, this is when they say the Great Reset. Remember, anything that man creates must come through destruction first. They are tearing down everything for this grand reset. And it's bringing forth this new so called advanced technology age through the digital age. And they're going to keep coming out with, oh, well, now we can cure cancer. Now, I mean, after all, think about this, people. We've gotten to the point to where we can create diamonds. No, I am not talking about paste diamonds, glass diamonds, cubic zirconium. No, I'm not speaking on any of that. I'm talking about real diamonds. Supposedly that takes, millions of years for the earth to create, right? But now man has the technology to create diamonds. Well, go back to ancient civilizations and some of those cuttings and rocks to where, gee, even our diamond tip tools of today can't do this kind of stuff. Hmm. But yet we can create diamonds today. And the natural process that we have been told that it takes to create diamonds. So now you have to compare that to what else can they create? When the hardest substances known to man, they can artificially create it now. We are going more and more into the synthetic age, the artificial age. But then we go back in history and we find, hmm, giant petrified tree stumps that, well, in many cases, don't even seem to be carbon based. Oh, that's because within time loop theory, if everything goes round and round and round, everything comes back around. There might be some stuff that is left behind. Okay, so left behind, let's go ahead and go into this real quick before I run out of time. Think about why. Okay, remember, supposedly according to science, we have evolved from these hominid groups out there. Savages, tribal people eventually, right? Think about why we have certain areas that no man is allowed to set foot upon. No, I'm not talking about Antarctica. No, I'm talking about certain islands that have natives that many countries have come together and put up a ban for anyone not only to interact with these natives and their tribes, but you cannot even step foot on the land itself. And we have these stories of ancient times, people having to resort to burrowing underground. We have all these examples of these catastrophes of destruction to where mankind had to resort to going underground and then reemerge and start all over again. And we have governments that have come together that said, well, we need to advance all of societies, but then again, we got these little secret pockets of hidden people because, like Albert Einstein stated, eventually men will go back to fighting wars with sticks and stones. Technology kills people. The time loop will be proven. And I'm giving little tidbits of proofs and evidences to further those thoughts. And I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that you will continue to think. Take care. Have a great one.